Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel today. Today's going to be a video that I wasn't sure if I was going to make it, simply because it deals with a very personal topic for me, and I really feel like I want to share. So, first of all, if you're new to the channel, welcome. If you've been here before, thank you for coming back. If you are new to the channel and have not subscribed yet, I would love it if you would hit the subscribe button down below. On this channel, there are two playlists. We have the Scents by Rob playlist, which is where I talk about my soap making and my wax melt making, and I'm looking at lotion bar making as well. The other playlist is Rob's Vlogs. That is the more personal stuff, non-business stuff. I might mention some business stuff for Scents by Rob on that channel. But I will say Scents by Rob isn't officially launched yet. I'm still working on things. But today's video is one that is deeply personal. Many of you probably know that I am a very out and proud gay man. We're married to a wonderful husband. But a lot of people in the LGBT community like to share their coming out stories on their channels, and I'd love to share that with you guys today. So I knew that I was gay probably maybe junior year of high school, maybe a little sooner. And I knew it deep down. And just a little family background. My family, I grew up in the church. I grew up in a Pentecostal church, Pentecostal Christian church, with wonderful people. Please don't get me wrong. But I grew up in that environment where being gay was considered wrong, considered a sin, etc. And so that's how I grew up. I grew up in that environment where admitting to yourself, let alone anybody else, was a source of conflicting emotions, pain, frustration, sometimes anger, that you weren't able to, you didn't feel like you could be yourself completely. So that's kind of how I grew up, and even through high school. So again, in high school, I'd say junior year, maybe sophomore year, I knew that I was gay. I knew I liked guys. It wasn't anything that was earth-shattering in my mind. But again, factoring in the church scenario, it was rough. It was very rough. I do remember one day trying to come out to my parents. I think I was about 18, a little over 18 at that point. It would have been my junior year. So yeah, I was 18. And I remember sitting my mom down and my dad down separately. And they were not cruel, but they really weren't sure that was how I was really feeling. So they didn't brush it off per se, but they're like, are you sure, etc. Maybe you're not, maybe you're just confused about things. All the things that parents would normally say when their child comes to them and says, I think I'm gay. Because I did say it that way. I think I'm gay. So anyway, and then, we went on a trip for, I want to say Christmas or something. And then, it kind of came up again, and biblical principle was brought up during a conversation and all that. So after that second conversation, I just kind of let it sit. I didn't really say anything. I never had a boyfriend or a girlfriend in high school. I had really great friends that were amazing and still are. I had a lot more girlfriends, like girls that were friends, than guys. I had a couple of close guy friends, and then a lot of great gal pals, basically. So sorry, I'm keeping an eye on my work computer there. So basically, what it boiled down to was, I knew deep down. So fast forward a little bit, and I went to a college out in the western part of my state, and I needed to get away. I could have gone to college closer to home, but by this point, I felt like I needed to get away, explore who I was, figure it out once and for all, and go from there. So, at various points through college, I met an amazing gal named Stephanie. She's fabulous. We're still close to this day. Um, she's a great mom. She's a great person. I met a whole bunch of other people that, were part of the community, and really did try to help, honestly. There was some things here and there that didn't go very well. Um, I was so up in the air, confused, not sure what was going on. Um, and during college, it was a time for me to kind of grow a little bit. And so I never had a boyfriend in college either, or a girlfriend for that matter. And now we're talking from the age of 19 to 24ish, give or take. So that was, yeah, I was a late bloomer as it was. So anyway, went through college, had a few little experimentations and things with guys, which is normal. And so when I got out of college, I moved in with my friend Melinda, and I did start seeing somebody for a little while. I think it was only like a month or so, and it just didn't work for a few different reasons. Most of it on my end, if I'm being completely honest. And then I didn't really date much at all. Let me rewind real quick though, because when I was still in school, I did have a few guys kind of sort of ask me out, and it was always like, oh, I'm not looking right now. So I kind of put myself in that no date box, which, bad idea. Just bad idea. I regret it now, honestly. So anyway, let's go back to 2007. So I graduated in 2007, moved in with Melinda, started seeing that gentleman probably, I want to say 6 or 8 months later. It was 2008. And again, we were only together for like three or 4 weeks. Just didn't work for me, honestly. He was a nice guy, though. He really was. And I can't remember exactly what led up to just not working out, but I do remember him being really sweet and really nice. So anyway, so we're talking like 20 years ago here. So anyway, I lived with her for about a year and a half. Then I got my own place in the same town, and I did actually start seeing a girl named Jess, and we'd been friends for years. And I thought maybe this is where I need to, maybe I'm bisexual, maybe I'm not completely gay. Maybe it's more of a like I like both. So, and Jess is a sweetheart. I love her. She's amazing. She's just a wonderful person. She really is. She's married now to a really nice guy. I'm so happy for her. But I think part of that was I still wasn't 100% sure, or I was trying to balance what I wanted versus expectations of my family. Hold on one second, folks. And that can get dicey. So anyway, we dated for a couple of years. My mom and dad loved her, did Christmas together, all that. Her parents are fabulous. Her family's fabulous. But we decided it just wasn't working. And part of it was I don't know if it was an emotional situation of type or attraction. I don't know what it was. I truly don't. But we just realized it wasn't working. We parted as friends. Awesome. So then it kind of turned into didn't really date again. And then I moved home to the middle of my state in 2011. And, got a job and lived with my folks for like 4 years. Still didn't come out, none of that. Didn't date, none of that crap. I say that now, none of that crap, but none of that. So I lived with them 4 years and all that. And then I moved in with my colleague, my friend Jason, in 2015, October of 2015. And he's awesome. He's amazing. And he just, it was a good thing. I need to get out of my parents' place again and get out on my own again and all that. So fast forward to March of 2016. Actually, no, January of 2016. I decided to jump on one of the dating apps, Plenty of Fish. Met a cool guy there named Glenn. We chatted and all this, and we met up once, and then we realized, not a romantic situation, but definitely friends. In fact, we're still friends. 10 years later, and he's a great guy. Funny, just it wasn't gonna work, and that's okay. Was I devastated at first? Yeah, a little bit, to be honest. But got over that. Had situations where talking to people and just didn't work out, or these people were like, oh, I'm not going to talk to this person or that person, or I'd get blocked, or blah, 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 blah. So, okay, fine. Fast forward a little bit to March of that year. I remember very distinctly. It was a day, I think it was a Saturday or Sunday. It was a weekend day. I think it was maybe a Saturday. And I had gone out with Jason. Jason and I had gone out with our friends Allie and Jeff and little Jess, different Jess. And I think we went like thrift shopping, antique shopping, or it was a big yard sale, indoor yard sale. And we were just poking about and all this, and somehow we got on the conversation topic of coming out to my folks. And my friend Allie, I love her. She was very direct. She said, sweetie, she goes, it's time. She goes, it's long past time. You know who you are. You can't hide it anymore. You gotta be who you are. So we finished up. We had lunch with the crew and all that, and Jason and I went home. No sooner had I walked in the door than my mom texted or called me and said, hey, I'm in the area. You want to meet up for coffee at the local Barnes & Noble? Yeah, cool beans. So I looked at my friend Jason, and I looked at Jason and I said, holy crap. He's like, what? I said, Mom wants to meet up just for coffee and chit chat. I said, this might be the time to do it, because if I don't do it now, I may never do it. And he goes, okay. I said, are you all right? He says, do you want me to go with you? I said, no. I said, I got this. So I drove down to Barnes & Noble, met my mom there, sitting down, having some coffee. And I basically said, Mama, I got something to tell you. And she kind of knew, I think, because I could sense in her mind that she knew. And she started to tear up a little bit. And she said, we don't have to do this here. And I said, no, Mom, you don't get it. If I don't get this out now, it's never going to. I said, I don't say this now, I will never say it. And I just blurted it out. Mom, I'm gay. There was some tears on both sides. And I think more so relief tears than anything else, because the first words out of her mouth were, I love you no matter what. You are my son. You always will be my son. So that helped relieve the pressure a little bit. And then we, walked around Barnes & Noble, chatting and all this. And I still remember this funny moment. We're walking by a table, and it had books from musicals, like Wicked and things like that. And I'm like, musicals really aren't much my thing. Like, I have a few, that I enjoy. But honestly, on the whole, musicals aren't my thing. And she looks at me, and I'll never forget this. She goes, you sure you're gay? And of course, that was her being funny and cheeky, but also kind of leaning into a stereotype, but we laughed it off and, all that. But anyway, so we had the conversation, and then I said, oh my God, I gotta tell Dad. And she goes, you don't have to do it today. I said, no, I probably should. So she said, all right. She goes, I'll meet you up at the house. So I drove all the way up to their condo, and I remember coming in the door, and Mom had beat me to the condo. And so she gave my dad a heads up that I was coming. And so we all sat in the living room, and our dog Shadow came and sat in my lap, giving him scruffies on the, and I told Dad, and I got the same response from Dad that I got from Mom. which was amazing. So, needless to say, my coming out journey was very positive. It was positive, it was affirming. I knew they needed some time to process, which I was more than happy to give, because it is a lot to kind of wrap your head around as a parent. Um, and, just to realign expectations, things like that. Sorry. So, needless to say, my experience was very positive. Um, in the meantime, of course, I'm trying to figure out, how do I navigate this? You know, and it was rough for a few days. A lot of crying on my own. I think a lot of releasing that energy that was so built up inside for so long. And I look back on that whole time and I realize how incredibly blessed I am and was at that time to have such a supportive parent system. Not everybody gets that. And that hurts my heart because parents should love their children no matter who they are or who they love. And as I started to give my parents the space to process, they'd ask questions and things like that. And I was happy to answer it. I was happy to have those conversations, but it was always when they were ready. I never pushed it. So, long story, very, very short. Clearly, my coming out story is, like some people's, very positive, very uplifting in many ways. But again, there's so many people out there that don't have that kind of story to tell. And that's truly sad and heartbreaking because everybody should have the support of their family no matter what. So I did want to share that with you guys today. This is going to go up on the Rob's Vlogs playlist. If you had a similar situation or had a coming out situation that you want to share, drop it down in the comments. Let's share with each other and see, can we support each other? Maybe you're in the process of wondering if you want to come out to family members or friends and you're not sure you have support. Let me know in the comments and, let me know where you're at if you're comfortable. Never any pressure, especially on a topic like this. But I do like to open the dialogue. All right, everyone. It's been an 18-minute video. I'm going to go ahead and let you guys go. But I wish you all wonderful and happy health. And stay warm because it's cold out there. And stay true to yourself.